I'm joined now by Roy Armson, one of the real legends of Crown Green Bowls. Roy has been playing the game now for nigh on 60 years, particularly through the 70s and 80s when the game was at its peak. Roy was up there with the very best in the sport. He's known all around the world as far as Crown Green Bowls are concerned, and admired and by everybody within the sport. It's a pleasure to have you here, Roy.
Thank you, Matt.
And what a lovely setting to be having a little chat about Crown Green Bowls.
First time I've done an interview in short.
Yeah, that's probably about right. And with a beer in front of us and the Mediterranean behind.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Really good.
It's a great complex, obviously, here in Cyprus, and I say it's a pleasure to have you here. I know you enjoy coming to these events, don't you, Roy?
Yes, I do. I enjoy coming here. I like to help out. You know, it's very, very important for the CESO, the organiser, to keep this holiday going. It's got a wonderful client base here, about 90 people, lovely people. They all enjoy themselves here. The hotel is good, the bowling's good, the food's good. So yeah, it's nice to be able to help out with them.
Anyway, I'm going to test your memory out now, Roy. Then how goes that? When did you first get involved in Crown Green Bowls?
Well, virtually, really, I got involved at the age of 28. We moved to Sale in 1956. Had two young boys, no money, and I decided to try and become a bowler. So I inquired from the various people in Sale which was the best club to join, and they said there's no doubt the best club was Sale Park. So off I went on the bike and could I join, and they said yes, you can join, and as a matter of fact you've joined at the very best time, because tomorrow we're going on a picnic and we go on a coach and we go to a pub in Cheshire, and what we do, we play pairs, and we pair the best player with the worst player in the club. So you will be playing with the best player, because right now you're the worst player, and that's how it all started.
I'm just surprised that I didn't realise you started at a late age, at 28 then?
Yes, I played a little bit of cricket and football, but not to any real standard. So bowls, I started looking at bowls when we lived in Eccles, and I went to a local club and I watched them play there, but I never really played. But suddenly when I came to Sale, what I felt was I worked in an office all day from 9 to 5:30, and I felt I needed fresh air and exercise, and this was the way to do it. So fortunately for me, after I'd been playing for maybe a couple of years or so, my wife Doris was a tremendous influence in being supportive, and she decided that she'd had enough and she would start to play herself.
Otherwise she'd never see you.
So while we went on when we played at the park, the two lads used to go and play football on the green, and we used to play bowls. Luckily for me, she became a champion in her own right. She became an absolute top-notch player. So she was supportive of everything that I did. When I tried to enter competitions, and when I went to watch the professional players, she never complained at all, because she knew that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So when you joined Sale Park, and I presume had a team in local league?
Yeah, we had a very good team. We entered a couple of the local leagues and did very, very well, won championships. Unfortunately, what actually happened was the parks authorities put the fees to play up to a tremendously high level, and therefore the players there felt that they could no longer sustain it, and so we all went to a local working men's club, which was Sale Excelsior. We went there in 1961 and we formed a team there, and the main thing that we wanted to do was to become good at bowls and play competitively, which is what we did. And the team, of course, at Sale Excelsior became a record-breaking team. They hold the record for the Brunner Cup wins in the Cheshire County. We've won the Brunner Cup 11 times, which is still a record.
And the British Championship at Earl, we recall.
Yes.
Basically beat my club in one final, didn't we?
Yeah, we did very, very well. We had a lovely group of players of different ages. Unfortunately, in recent times, we've all grown all together.
When you first started, so you started at Sale Park, and I know you're a great one for bowls, aren't you, Roy? You study bowls and everything. What did you start playing with? Did you go to a bowl shop or something?
I first I bought a pair of balls in a pawn shop for £1.50, and I took them to Sale Park, and the players there looked at them and said, "You'll never win anything with those." So I saved up £5, 10 shillings, and bought a pair of tailored £2.12-ounce liquid balls, and I played with those for quite a long while. But after that time, being a sales engineer and being interested in the mechanics of balls, I studied balls an awful lot. And you'll remember at that time, Mel, because all the jacks were different. You could go to different places and the jacks were different in bias. And being a simple-minded individual, I just wanted to follow the jack. I felt that was the secret of the game, to be able to follow the jack. So I got friendly with the people, players in Liverpool, and I got them to manufacture balls to suit me, and I had my own template. And I always people used to make fun, I always used to have at least 6 or 8 pairs of balls in the car. And I did, I studied them to try and, because I was a great believer in any walk of life, a workman is only as good as his tools, and you needed to have the right tools.
I had a pair of your template ones, remember that?
I do.
Never play any good with them, but I had a set.
And then following on from there, I got to know a man called Jerry Rigby. Jerry Rigby of St Helens, he's a stonemason. And what he decided to do, he was very fastidious about his bowls. He bought a log, a lignum vitae log, a complete log of lignum vitae. And he went to the manufacturer and said, "Right, I want you to make me 3 pairs of identical bowls from this log. So they'll all be exactly the same, 2 full, 2 1/4, and 2 1/2. And what he did, he had a pair of bowls, £2.11 that he said he wanted to sell. And he said these bowls were specially made for the Waterloo. So I bought them. And I won numerous competitions. Won the BBC Top Crown at the Waterloo, and won the Netmust Player. Well, all kinds of things with them. And when it got around about the 80s, Jimmy Collin, from Bury, who was playing on the panel at the time, he said to me, "I'm having a tough time at the Waterloo, I can't play the green." He said, "Have you any balls I can borrow?" So I said, "Well, I've got these balls, Jim." I said, he said, "Let me borrow those balls." So he borrowed the balls, and he won the Waterloo. The only downside to it was, he played my pal in the semi-final, Norman Fletcher.
Yeah.
And Norman never forgave him for letting him have these balls. He went on that same year with the balls, he won the Champion of Champions, and he called the balls the Magic Balls. I couldn't get them back up for about 5 years.
I remember at that time, didn't Jimmy won now, he got the nickname the man with the golden arm, didn't he, for a couple of years. Yeah. So just retracing again, so you got to Sale Park, and I presume they got a team. Did you have to go into a second team or something to start with?
Yes, I went in the second team, and I played in the cup match one time, and I lost 21-20. And they said, "Well, you've done quite well. We'll give you a go in the first team." And everything went from there. And there was a man playing, I don't know whether you'll remember him, Mel, a man called Arthur West.
Yes, CA West.
Well, CA West and we used to play a lot of matches together, and I learned a lot from him, and then entered competitions, and gradually worked more and more and more. Picked all the good players' brains, never ashamed to say that. I always recommend to young players, become friendly with all the good players, because they can help you to do well. And never be afraid to play them, but they're not all world champions. They can all be beaten.
Yeah. So at some point then you're playing in a team, and you must have decided that you wanted to have a crack at competitions. You was like, "Well, I'm doing okay, I'll have a go." Can you remember the first thing you entered? The first thing you won?
First competition I entered in 1966. It was at a place called Bredbury Steel, which is now called Woodley Sports.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was 5 shillings to enter. And I got to the final day, and the final day it was very, very wet, and I was slipping and sliding all over on the mat. And I remember Harold Barlow coming onto the green and saying, "Just put your heel on the mat, you won't slip." Anyway, I won the competition, and the first prize was £20. And I went home to my wife and said, "I've won £20, what shall we do?" She said, "Well, we haven't got a vacuum cleaner." So we bought a vacuum cleaner.
And that was the prize.
And that was the prize.
I remember you telling me a story once about when you was playing on the TV, and the commentator at the time commented, didn't he, about your movement?
Yeah, that was 1986 when I played at the Green Horse County Classic, which you were in.
You beat me in that.
And I beat you. Well, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
But
I'll never forgive you for that.
the famous Hugh Johns was doing the commentary, and Hugh Johns was a wonderful commentator. very, very lovely voice, and he'd done 4 World Cups. And in fact, if you listen to some of the archive footage of football matches, you will hear huge honours. And he did I won my first match, and he came on the green and interviewed me, and he said, talked about the game, and he said, "It's a beautiful day today, the sun's shining." And I just said, "Yeah, when the sun shines, Armson shines." And then in the commentary later on in the week, when I was doing quite well, he told the story about Armson winning his first competition. He won £20, took it home to his wife, bought a vacuum cleaner, and he's been cleaning up ever since.
I remember that year when I played you, and remember that they interviewed us. Elton Wells didn't it, at Carmel before. I just won my game, and then I got to play you the next day, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I remember Elton saying to you, "What you're going to do with this young man?" And you said, "Tomorrow I'm going to fiddle around with him." And then Elton said to me, "What do you think of that?" And I said, "Well, I'll fiddle around with Roy a few times in the past." We probably wouldn't be allowed to say that sort of thing these days, would we really? So your first competition you won £20. That will obviously give you a bit of incentive to do a little bit more then.
Yeah, I think the first big competition I ever won was the News of the World at Empire Services Preston.
Yeah.
That was a big competition in those days, and I got to the last 8 of that. Ironically, whilst I was getting to the last 8, my wife Doris was getting to the final day in the Isle of Man. I flew home from the Isle of Man on the Wednesday, and she stayed there. She won the Isle of Man, and I won the News of the World. And that was the first big competition. And winning the News of the World actually put me in the BBC Masters. And my great hero, Bill Dover, had won the BBC Masters the year before. And anyway, I went on with the bowls that I got off Jerry Rigby. I went on to win that. And gradually, I think, there's an old saying, isn't there, that success breeds success. And I think gradually from there, I seem to do quite well. But like a lot of the players of my time, Bill Dover, Arthur Murray, all those type of players, practice was the thing. I used to try and practice every day for half an hour and try different bowls and different methods and all that kind of thing.
You said earlier that you picked the brains of some of the top players.
Yeah.
Which particular ones did you really seek advice from?
I used to go to the panel and watch all the panel players, and at that time they were all playing strong bias bowls. And Jimmy Cunliffe.
Jack and Jack then?
Jack and Jack. I spoke to Jimmy Cunliffe and Norman Hesler. And of course Brian Duncan was playing at the time. I couldn't speak to Brian because he wouldn't tell you anything. It's like a typical Wiganer. What they say about Wiganers, they ask a Wiganer for advice and they say, "Yeah, keep it to yourself."
Yeah, that's Brian, if they didn't give a lot away.
Yeah, I used to talk to Bernard Lee. In fact, I used to, when I played at the Waterloo, I copied him out what he played on. Things like that.
Yeah, you can learn a lot by watching the top players.
Learn about striking from Harold Barlow, all that sort of thing. Learned about how to use the footer from Jerry Rigby.
Yeah, you're the expert at that. Which I played you a few times. You want to, particularly on them big round match we used to, you'd be over there 1 minute, over here with another minute.
That's right.
That's why they made these little matches to stop you,
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Those big matches used to protect the green. It was the worst thing I ever did, doing away with those. That was all a case of creating angles.
Yeah.
Creating angles on the map to try and miss balls and things like that. There's a common misconception amongst the players of today that I never stood on the footer, but that wasn't so. The trick was to use the footer to win.
Yeah, that's it. And you did, I mean, you were an expert at that. And as I say, you can just pinch 6 inches, can't you? Off a delivery.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
What say you won the BBC Masters, News of the World and everything. What you say was your proudest moment of everything?
There's probably 2, Mel. One of the biggest ones, about 1975, I'd played at the Red Masters at the Albany Club at Birkenhead.
Yeah.
And I won it the first year.
That was a 41 up, wasn't it?
41 up. And the next year I got to the final again. And who should I meet but Mr. Brian Duncan? And because I'd won it the previous year, I had to give him 2 stars. And he was at the top of his form, playing on the panel, and they laid 3-1 against me in the final. So having to give Brian Duncan 2 stars, and I thought to myself, well, he doesn't know this green. I'm the champion of this green. Anyway, I managed to beat him. That was a great moment for me, because people have often asked me, who then I think was the best player I ever played. I used to listen to all the players at my time. We all said the same thing.
Yeah.
Brian Duncan was the best player.
Yeah, I've always said that. With that with Brian.
And the other occasion, I think, which was a fantastic moment. I don't know how I did it to this day. This was the car mill at St Helens in 1986 when you and I played in it, and I managed to, in front of the television cameras, also trying out for commentary at the same time, and managed to beat the great Robert Hitchin of Yorkshire from 19-9 behind.
Yeah, it was, I think, quarter final you beat me, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I couldn't come back the next day, so I couldn't let you. I couldn't win it anyway, really. So I thought I'd let you have that one. Now also we've spoken about people you've took advice from, but I know a lot of people have took advice from you, haven't you? Over the years.
Yeah, what I've tried to do, Mel, I've tried to put a bit back into the game. Over the last 40 years, I've always been on. I've been on every committee in every county I've ever been involved with. I've been chairman and manager and captain and that kind of thing. And I like to help young players. A lot of them don't seem to want to ask people for information, but anybody that has asked me for information, and my old pal Cliff Hope always used to say to people, "Have you asked him?" And if any of these young players did ask me, I always tried to help them. In some cases, even though they played for an opposing team, I just felt, I felt I'd had a lot of help, and I felt it was only right that I tried to give it to them.
Yeah. No, just a couple of, in particular, like Chris Morrison, took a lot of help from the advice, and Mike Garrity, people, and I'm sure there's many more of them.
Yeah, Chris Morrison was one of the first, really. He was a teenager when I first met him at the Albany Club at Birkenhead. He used to make sure he refereed all my matches. And even though I wanted to get home, he bought me half a mile and kept me there till about 11:30. But yeah, he's been a great friend to me, and I'm very pleased that I was able to help him. I always felt that he's just recently retired, and he could have amassed quite a lot of championships, and he did very well, but he's rather comfortable and he hasn't got the tremendous desire which you need to be a champion. You need to have it in your heart. Your hunger to win, and that desire has got to be there.
I mean, I've said many times, I've played everybody in the game, obviously, and tactically, I think you're one of the best tacticians I've ever seen for reading a green. You always manage to find a little mark to catch out whether it be right-handers, left-handers, or anybody.
Well, in my upbringing, again, Jerry Rigby always used to say to me, placing the jack is an art. And he used to try and place the jack on the most difficult place he could find, so that the nearest ball that he could get to the jack was a yard off. And that's what I tried to do. But the other thing I also did, of course, during that time that we were talking about, I used to play against my opponent's faults. Depending on whether they were weak or strong, I used to find places to suit them. And that was where the tactical side of it was very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously known it a long time. I mean, I'd won a few junior tournaments, and then I thought I'd have a go a few competitions. I was a bit Jack alone, thought I could win anything. It's easy peasy, this game. And the first tournament I entered was, you probably remind me of anyway, was at Florence, private in Stoke. And I turned up there, the first tournament I entered, 31 up, wasn't it? And I ended up playing this fella here, and I thought, I didn't even know who Roy Armson was. And you beat me 31-6, didn't you? But since then, you've given me a lot of advice, haven't you, Roy? So, which is going for some people, as you say, to keep things to themselves, but you've helped a lot of people, including myself, along the way.
Yeah.
So, and like I've said before, now I've played your stints and I've beaten you and you've beaten me, but when you play top players, like you mentioned with Brian Duncan, it's, without winning events, sometimes it's nice to have that on your CV, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
To say I've played great players over the years.
I think the other thing that you learn when you would learn it when you have a situation like that, you learn to lose with good grace.
Yeah.
And you learn to win quietly.
Yeah.
But if you find, in my experience, all the good players have been very nice people.
Yeah.
They lose well and they don't like it.
No.
They fester inside.
It's a sport you've got to accept defeat as well as winning. Really. I mean, talk about young players. I mean, you still go to the Waterloo and you look around now. I mean, Who has really captured your eyes over recent years? Obviously, we've got to mention, obviously, Gary Ellis's fantastic achievement, hasn't he? Equaling Brian's 5 wins. But
Yeah.
who else do you admire in the current crop?
Well, of the current crop, I have to say, and I'm probably a little bit biased because I've spent quite a bit of time with him, I like to watch Graham Wilson. As I say, I've spent time with him. The way that he thinks his tactics is on the same wavelength as me. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I believe he's doing the right things. I believe he's doing all the right things. He's got encouragement from his wife. He's got the right balls because he's got the Taylor balls. And I just like watching him play. Gary Ellis is a fantastic player, and of course the thing that strikes you about Gary Ellis is how professional he is, but he practices so hard.
Oh, yes.
Of all the modern players, he practices more than any player. I admire that. I think that is the professional attitude which you have to have if you want to be successful. I must confess, some of these younger players from the Midlands, I haven't watched them enough to evaluate them. You know, I hear about Greg Smith and Ryan Frost and people like that. And talking to Graham Wilson about them, he thinks they play a different game. You know, they play a lot of, because the modern players, well, they strike a lot. You know, they strike a lot more.
They're accurate as well, these lads.
Oh yeah, because they're playing a short length, and so if you beat their ball, they'll knock it off. So I really haven't taken as much time probably as I should to watch those people. Maybe I'll get the chance to do that and see how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, currently, Warwick was the rule everything, don't they? They got a tremendous side, and so some of these young lads, like you mentioned, Greg and Ryan, Ben Harris, people like that, they all feel this. They just go on the green and just seem to play the shots, don't they?
Yeah. To be honest, with some of the players who are based in the north of England, I've been a little bit disappointed with their attitude to competitions. I think that they don't sort of respect the organisers as much as they should do. You know, you hear of competitions where they get 64 entries, but only 40 are paid and that kind of thing. I know that when I was playing out, we used to send a cheque and all that kind of thing. So I just think the northern players, they just need to get back to it. You know, get back to trying hard and listening and learning and that kind of thing.
In some cases, the organisers are at fault, aren't they? You know, as well. I mean, I've entered a lot of tournaments and run a lot of tournaments over the years, but I've never sort of taken entries without having the cash up front.
Yeah.
And if people get away with it, then they'll carry on trying to get away. I'm not saying they won't pay at the end of the day, but it doesn't help an organiser when you don't know how many people are actually going to turn up. Probably why we've lost a few tournaments. And I've always professed that you should treat the players, the sponsors and spectators with the right respect.
Absolutely.
Particularly the sponsors, you know, you need to treat them with the generosity that they give to the event.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look, we mentioned the Waterloo, it's the good days have sort of gone sort of temporarily, haven't they? I think probably since Greenall's left and we're not getting quite the crowds now, but it's something that needs sort of pursuing and keeping that and building up. It's still fantastic tournament and fantastic stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of the people that I know, that final week for the Waterloo, it's their holiday.
Yeah.
They look forward to it. You know, a lot of friends of mine, they're really sad at the prospect of that not taking place. They have 3 days off work and go and spend the time there, and the atmosphere, even though the crowds aren't as big, the atmosphere is still tremendous. And no matter what you want to do, everybody wants to win the Waterloo. In fact, I'll tell you a little tale. When I was working with Graham Wilson showing him around, I said to him that I have 2 ambitions in life. One of them I could never ever realise now. So he said, what's that? I said, well, the one ambition I've never realised is I'd love to have won the Waterloo. And he said, what's the other one? He said, the other one is I want Graham Wilson to play in my team. And he said, you never say no.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. No, I mean, for a lot of people, one of their ambitions is to make a final day at Waterloo. You know, I mean, I've been fortunate twice. I've had a quarter-final, semi-final. I've never managed to avoid winning, but to be there on that occasion, on that day, you know, I always felt that the Tuesday is the day, isn't it? The last 16, that's when the butterflies kick in, because everybody's desperate to get to that Wednesday, aren't they?
Yeah, I was in three times 3 times in the final day.
Yeah.
And
What's your best achievement?
that's it. The last day.
Last day, 3 times?
Yeah, the very first time I played in that was about 1967, I think it was. And I'll never forget it. I was the last game of the morning session, and I was losing about 13-7 to this little old man from Lancaster who had a hearing aid. He very cleverly switched it off because he couldn't hear the crowd. And I was last on a mile behind. I thought, what shall I do now? And I thought, I'll go down the edge of the green. I went down the edge of the green, down by the north stand, and it was about 12:30. And they all got up and walked off and went for the lunch. So we were walking down the green where I was playing. I didn't know whether I was coming or going.
So your 4th game on?
That was the last. So that was the last of that year.
Yeah.
And I was in the year when Brian Duncan played out in Waterloo.
79.
79, and I lost that year with David Ellis. So I've never really got.
You lost in the semi-final, didn't you? I think to Proudest, the Armson.
So that's as far as I've gone. I've won the NatWest Players, I won the BBC Top Crown. Never progressed any further.
Yeah, you've done successful at some doubles, didn't you? One or 2 good partners you managed to get out there, didn't you? Mr. Burroughs for one, wasn't it?
Well, we won about 23 pairs titles, and Noel Burroughs, when I first started to play with him, in fact the very first competition we played in was down in Wolverhampton for you.
It was, yeah.
And we went
The
down
Star and Garter
Star
Classic.
and Garter.
Yeah, that's
And,
right.
for a player of his class, because make no mistake, Noel Burroughs, I think if he hadn't have had to work so hard all his life, I think he would have been pretty much on a par with Brian Duncan. He was so good. But as a pairs partner, the first 2 years, he was absolutely hopeless. I used to do the leading, and he'd come behind, and he didn't know what to do. After that 2 years, when he gradually found out what to do and learned, because I just said to him, I'm setting the traps, you'll have to watch what you're doing. He became a fantastic pairs partner. We won all kinds of competitions. And then when he wasn't available, I got a man who was probably not well known to many people, a man called Norman Hesler, who was a panel player. But he was a tremendous pairs partner, and again, playing at the back, hardly ever struck. He used to say to me, if that ball's sticking out there, is that stopping 3? And I'd say yes. He'd say, right, I'll sit on it. And he just used to sit on it.
Yeah. Different game, doubles, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're playing at the back.
Yeah, he used to say to me, what do you recommend? Things like that.
Yeah.
But very enjoyable, man.
Yeah,
very enjoyable.
I enjoyed bowls. Me and Lynn have done pretty well, and with John Turner, of course. It's quite enjoyable game.
Yeah.
You mentioned these successes. Obviously disappointed never winning the Waterloo. What else is there? Would you say the biggest disappointment in the game?
That's a hard one, man.
I always ask difficult questions.
I think probably I haven't played now for, this will be the 5th year I've not played, and I understand that nothing's forever, and I've helped our Manchester Premier League team players. I love to be involved with them. I think it's very, very important as you get older to keep involved, to keep your brain active, which I've tried to do because it's the easiest thing in the world to become a couch potato. So probably I would like our club to do a little bit better than what they're doing now. I think
They've done better this season.
Yeah.
Looking at the results.
Yeah, they've done better, and we're gradually bringing in some younger players, some newer players, and I think the nucleus is there for the team to do well because we've got a great bunch of people in the club. I think the big thing that we need to improve, we probably need to get the green a little bit better, a little bit quicker, because our results at home have not been as good as we would like them to be.
There's some guy called Cairns been playing there this time.
Andrew Cairns has played for us this year.
Do you think he'll ever make a play?
Well, he said he's enjoyed it very much, but he's hard work.
Yeah.
He wants a lot of managing, does Andrew?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, what else can we talk about, Roy? Now you've been in retirement 5 years, you're going to make a comeback now? You've had a rest?
Well, to be honest, I came here to Cyprus last year and helping to run the event. And I went on the Royal Green there one lunchtime, and I thought I'll just see if I can play because my back's so bad I can only last about 10 minutes. And so I went on the green, and I went on and had about 5 ends. The nearest ball I could play was 2 yards, and I thought, it's the best thing you ever did was retire.
Yeah, but 10 minutes, that's enough for you to see somebody off, isn't it? You only needed 10 minutes. Looking at the sport now, Roy, I mean, obviously you see everything that's going on these days. What would you like to see happen within the game to give it a bit of a boost? Anything that riles you you'd like to see improve?
Well, of course, I've always been a great advocate of the professional rules, and of course I'm president of the panel. We are trying to keep that going. We're desperately trying to keep that going. A bunch of about 5 or 6 people working 5 days a week to try and keep it going. And those rules, I think, encompass everything that ought to apply to the game. I always remember Barry Cottrell, who you know very well. He was the chairman of the Referees Society. He used to come and visit our Christmas handicap every year, and he used to say to me, these are the best rules I can ever find. And I said to him, well, why don't you get them implemented with British Crown Green? And he said, I can never get it through. And it's things like that that I would love to see implemented. Changes to the rules which make it not to be a crime to play with enthusiasm. Everybody in the game now, the people you speak to, even though they never saw him play, they all talk about the one man, Vernon Lee. Everybody talks about Vernon Lee. Well, but the present structure wouldn't allow him to play like he did.
No, he wouldn't entertain.
He wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that's the sad part about it.
They're short of entertainers these days.
Yeah, they just haven't got. But probably the only one that's left is Michael Leach.
Yeah, he keeps going. I think he must have Duracell batteries, Michael, or something. Yeah. You're wearing your tailor's hat and your tailor's shirt. I mean, you worked a long time for tailors. Was it enjoyable?
Yeah, I had the experience of joining Taylor's in 1992. I met with the owner of the company, Mr. Alec Heron, at that time. The representative for the area just recently died, and they asked me would I do it. And I was just about to retire at that time, but I got on so well with Alec Heron. He was an engineer, and I find myself on the same wavelength as him. They gave me carte blanche in the factory to make some changes to the design of the bowls, which I did, and I spent 17 years with them, right up to 2009, and they were some of the happiest years of my life. As a representative on the road, working for Taylor's, it was the easiest job I ever had, because the bowls virtually sold themselves, plus the fact it was a product that I knew something about. But they're a lovely company, wonderful people, producing a first-class product. As I say, those were the happiest years of my life, and they were very kind. When I retired in 1992, they bought me this gold watch, which was a lovely thing to do.
Yeah. And your replacement now, Graham Wilson, is into it, doing a good job, isn't he?
Well, I promised the boss, I promised him that when I retired, I would endeavour to make sure that we had a good replacement. And I thought about it long and hard, and I know that Graham was working in a bowl shop at the time, and I just knew that he had the backing of his wife. And so, it came to pass, and I spent about 5 months with him, taking him round to all the customers, just showed him the way that I did things. Not that I'm saying that I was right, because I was old school. And I used to say to him, what do you think's the first thing that people notice when you walk into a shop? And he said, I don't know. He said, it's your shoes. Make sure your shoes are polished.
Good advice, yeah. I'll get the cherry blossom out when I get back home. And just finally, we're sitting here in Cyprus, where sadly your good friend Alan Wilkinson passed away last week. What's your memories of Alan?
I knew Alan for about 35 years.
Good supporter in the Manchester area, everything.
Yeah, he was a rough diamond. Make no mistake about it. As you would understand, he had a garage, and some of his language was quite garage-like, but he had a heart of gold. Yeah. And of course, he was at one part of his life he was left quite a bit of money, but he made sure that all the money that he had, he wanted to do good, and he wanted to try and promote the game of bowls. He did that in every possible shape and form, sponsoring things all over the place.
Yeah.
Great man.
Yeah, the credit to our sport. Anyway, with that, Roy, I think we better finish our beer off, actually.
I'm getting thirsty now.
And we've got an hard day out tomorrow. You've got to do a bit more organising here.
Yeah, it's finals day tomorrow.
Finals day, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had a bet as well, have you? Are you allowed to bet in Cyprus?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in Cyprus. Anyway, it's a pleasure, Roy, to have known you all these years and a good friend. And
Thank you.
A great ambassador.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.